Okay, so that should be recording now. Okay, my loves. So welcome to this session on why relationships fail. So like I said, last Thursday, we started with a series of workshops on the topic of relationships. And last week, we started with self-love and how to heal the relationship with yourself. Don't worry if you weren't here, you can still catch up with that one. And I will cover a little bit of why that it's important today. I am really excited about these workshops and covering the topic of relationships for two reasons. The first reason is because, and maybe I should give a bit of background for the people who don't know me. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Verónica Moreno. I am a life and mindset coach, energy healer, and counselor. And I work with mainly with women who have been on a self-development journey, but feel ready to finally do the deep healing so they can live their highest life. So I work with them to help them to break free from the conditioning of the past and reclaim their power so they can create the life that they truly want to live, not the ones that others expect them to live or the one they were programmed to live, but the life they truly want to live. And in years of doing this work, one of the main topics that my clients bring to my sessions again and again and again is relationships. I really struggle with relationships. I get very jealous when my boyfriend speaks to another girl. I always attract the bad boys that break my heart. I can't find a partner. I don't think it's possible for me. There are always a lot of arguments in my relationships. We struggle so much with relationships, right? So that's one of the main reasons that a lot of people struggle with relationships. And the second reason why I'm really excited about covering this topic and I'm really passionate about covering this topic is because healing or relationships has been one of the main things that I've had to heal myself. I massively struggled with this because when I was a kid, when I was 4 or 5 years old, my parents got divorced, and it was a very traumatic divorce, lots of arguments and screaming at each other and lots of drama everywhere for years and years and years and years. And my relationships were very messed up. And they will always have this element of suffering and pain and drama. But, you know, love is drama. That's what I learned. That love is drama, that love hurts, that love is difficult, that relationships are complicated. Those were all my beliefs, right? And sometimes I would repeat like the same pattern again and again and again and again and again until one day I thought, right, okay, I was always blaming them, you know, but right, but the way I feel and the way this ended and this pattern looks very, very similar to the previous relationship. So maybe it's not him, maybe it's actually me. So by doing a process of healing and self-discovery and letting go of all that conditioning, I was actually able to find a wonderful relationship. And I consider the relationship I'm in now one of my biggest, if not my biggest success. So the relationship I have with my now husband, I got married last year. We've been together for almost 9 years now, I think. Yeah, almost 9 years. I consider it to be, again, one of my greatest, if not my biggest success in life. And what I want to share with you is that process and what I did and what I help my clients do, because it's not that difficult. I know that relationships can be like very overwhelming and you know, and the mistakes we make and what we do and you know, and pattern, they are complex. They are complex because if one human being on its own, it's complex already. When we bring two together, yeah, we trigger each other, we mirror each other. Yeah, of course, it is complex, but it doesn't need to be complicated. And most of the problems we struggle with in relationships have the same source, the same origin, which is what I'm going to be explaining today. And it's not that difficult to go through that shift once you understand the process and how to do it. So I guess what I want to say before we even start covering the proper content, is wherever you are right now when it comes to relationships. Maybe you're in a relationship and you want to improve some things that are not working. Maybe you're in a relationship that you know is not going anywhere, but you feel a bit stuck and you don't know how to leave it behind. Maybe you've been single for a long time and you don't know if that's ever going to happen for you. Regardless of where you are in your journey, you're going to benefit from these sessions. And actually, the process and the inner work is very, very similar. So that's a bit about me and why these sessions. Today, I'm going to focus on covering why relationships fail. Next week, the focus is going to be on clearing all relationship baggage. And the week after, I'm going to be talking in more detail about the inner shifts that need to happen so you can be in the energy, in the vibration, in resonance with attracting healthy and joyful relationships. So why do relationships fail then? That's what we're going to mainly cover today. And what do you think? Let me know, guys, in the chat. Why do you think relationships are so complicated? Why do you think so many people struggle with relationships? Why do they fail? Why are they no more, I don't know, straightforward and easy? Let me know if you have any ideas. And all problems in relationships, whether that's, you might be thinking, yeah, I have a communication problem. I don't know how to communicate with my partner doesn't know how to communicate with me. Maybe there is a lack of trust. Maybe there are lots of arguments. Maybe you don't know how to set boundaries, or maybe you set too many boundaries and barriers. Those are patterns or behaviors. It's Rachel is saying absorbing the other's negativity and letting it affect me. Yeah, absolutely. Taking on too much, boundaries. But all those problems have their origin, are just, patterns, behaviors. Those are problems that manifest in a relationship. Carolina is saying trauma, ego, not being able to express feelings. Yeah, absolutely. Trauma, ego, all that stuff that we carry, the parts that are not our true self, not being able to express feelings, absolutely. And then we bottle them up and then they explode when we are least expecting it. So all those problems we experience in relationships have their origin in three main elements. Number one, what you learned from your role models. And by role models, I mean, what was the main relationship that you learned from when you were growing up? For most people, that will be your parents. But for some other people, it might be other caregivers if your parents weren't around. Maybe other members of the family. So what we learn from our role models, especially because between when we're born and when we are 7, our mind is like a little sponge and it's absorbing, and we're like observing, analyzing, processing, making decisions, even without saying anything, right? But we're doing this all the time. Our subconscious mind is much more active. So we are absorbing and learning. And what we learn is not what we are taught or what we are told by our parents or school or whatever. What we learn is what we see. And not only what we see, but our interpretation of what we see. So, for example, if dad was abusive to mom, if mom was yelling at dad all the time, if your parents were arguing a lot, if one of them wasn't present, how they communicated with each other, if they were loyal to each other, all those things, we start absorbing a lot of information that goes straight into the subconscious mind. And based on that, we make decisions. Like I made certain decisions. Love hurts. If there is love, there has to be drama. Love doesn't last long. I had so many. I can't even remember, but yeah, I had so many. My needs are not important. I always have to be available for the other person. A lot of fear around being abandoned, around the other person leaving me. So this is a key thing, because this is the first stage when we start making decisions about ourselves, about love, about relationships, about men, about women. And we start to kind of like write our book, our story about relationships, right? We're going to do some self-reflection later. So right now I'm just going to throw some concepts here. And then there will be, later in the session, there will be time for self-reflection and to cover this in more detail. So one of the main elements, your role models. The second main element that causes all these problems, past negative experiences in past relationships. So if we were in an in-person room, I would say, raise your hand if you've ever experienced a heartbreak. And I'm sure everyone would raise their hand. And if you haven't, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. I'm sure there will be a few exceptions, but I'm sure at some point a relationship hasn't gone well. And maybe you're one of those few people who meet their partners when they're like 14, 15, and they've been together for the whole life, and it's a wonderful relationship and a beautiful family. But this is not very common. This is not very common at all, at least from my experience. So, and by past relationships, yeah, I can see some people raising their hands there. Absolutely. Past relationships, it could be your previous relationship and the one before, depending how old you are or how many you've had. But also, you know, when you're like 4, 5, 6 years old and you already start interacting with guys, and you know, and maybe there's this thing about someone brings you flowers and you like this boy, but they prefer to give flowers to the other girl. And all those experiences, even if they don't count as a proper relationship, that gets registered in our subconscious mind. Again, more decisions. And mainly what happens when we have negative experiences in relationships is that we start to build barriers. We start to build barriers around the heart. We start to protect ourselves, because when we break our heart, it bloody hurts. It's bloody painful, isn't it? So your body, which is a very wise and smart mechanism, will say, right, so this was really painful. This caused me a lot of stress, probably quite a few gray hairs. We're not going to do this again. And we start creating all these barriers and all these maybe too strong boundaries. We get scared of being committed to the right person, or maybe that's what makes us kind of attract the wrong partner. And you know, and we only feel attracted to people that we know they're going to break our heart. Like, how many times have you started a relationship when you knew that person had the word troublemaker in their forehead? I'm sure I'm not the only one here. And we do this to confirm a belief or a decision that we have made before. So all this baggage, and sometimes we think, oh, but it was a long time ago. I'm going to cover a lot more on this next week. But even if we think, oh, but that was ages ago. Yeah, but it doesn't matter how long ago it was. If the imprint is still there, is still going to have an impact in your current relationships. So again, we will be exploring this a bit later. And the other third element is the relationship with yourself. And that's why last week there was a whole workshop on self-love and healing the relationship with yourself. And why is this so important when it comes to relationships? Because very often relationships are a mirror that reflects back how you treat yourself. How can you ask someone to love yourself unconditionally, to treat yourself well, to respect your boundaries, to love you and value and celebrate you, if you don't love yourself, if you don't respect your own boundaries, if you don't celebrate yourself, if you don't honor yourself? It's impossible. You need to do that first if you want someone else to do it for you. So, and I know this might be a bit annoying, because obviously it's not, you know, if someone doesn't treat you well or is abusive, doesn't mean that it's your fault. No, they're doing something wrong, right? It's not, they are doing something wrong. I'm not taking responsibility of them. But sometimes we are attracted to those relationships to be reflected, you know, that maybe we need to learn how to love ourselves and how to set those boundaries. So all the problems, you know, the arguments, the toxic behaviors, the patterns, you know, the not setting boundaries, the yelling at each other, like all these problems really are just a manifestation of these three elements: the beliefs you made about yourself, about love, about relationships, about men, about women, from your role models, from your past relationships, and from the relationship you have built with yourself. So the problem is not about the communication, about the arguments. This all happens because of previous conditioning. And we develop all these beliefs, and they condition the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave in relationships. What we learned, what mom and dad did, and we learned from that, what we have experienced in previous relationships, or in the lack of previous relationships, the way we treat ourselves, if we love ourselves or not. Now, there are a couple of comments in the chats. Yeah, absolutely. Ellen is saying, if I get burned by a stove, I'm not going to want to touch one again. Similar to love for me. Absolutely. It hurts. This was bloody painful. We're not doing this again. But the problem is not the stove. The stove is fine, you know, and sometimes it's lovely to be next by a stove, you know, and have a fireplace and the warmth that it provides in the winter. So if we're saying, oh no, I'm never going to be near a stove again, well, maybe you're missing on those beautiful fireplace nights with that warmth. But yeah, great example. Felicia saying, sometimes it's hard for me to speak up for myself. I always try to avoid conflict. Yeah, so some beliefs there about speaking up, like maybe the belief is that it's not safe, or that you don't deserve it, or maybe sometimes we just don't know how to do it because we've never been taught how to do it, or we've never done it before. So yeah, a lot of that comes from within, in the relationship with yourself. And that will be something that will manifest in a romantic relationship, but we also manifest, you know, with your family members, with your friends, at work. So definitely something worth exploring. So I think it's my inner child. I grew up in a traumatic environment. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be exploring that more. But yeah, absolutely. The inner child carries, especially when we grow up with trauma. And I heard, who was that? I keep reading this quote, and I can't remember, it doesn't matter, but it was something like, if you've had a childhood, you have trauma. Like, it's very, like, even if it's just like those multi-traumas, you know, like, it doesn't need to be something major, but no one's childhood is perfect. No one's experience of growing up and parenting is perfect. It's just not the case. And if you know anyone who doesn't have any single limiting belief or trauma or old story or negative emotions build up, please introduce them to me, because I would love to hear what that feels like. I haven't found anyone in many years of meeting many people from different countries and working with many people. Anyway, so if all these problems in relationships, and if all this struggle in relationships come from the conditioning we have been exposed to, do you want to hear the good news or the bad news? Shall I break with the good news first, so we don't get upset? Yeah, let's do the good news first. The good news is that it doesn't matter what your conditioning is. You have the power to change it, to heal it, and to reprogram yourself to create the relationships you want. That's some good news, isn't it? That's pretty good news, I would say. And let me say it again. It doesn't matter your conditioning. It doesn't matter if you come from, you know, the most traumatic relationships, you know, your role models, your ancestors, previous relationships. You have the power. You have the power to change this, to heal this, to break free from that conditioning, to heal the past experiences, to heal the pain. You have the power to change it, to heal it, and to create the relationships you truly deserve. That's amazing. Some people clapping, true. Hi, Kiana. Great day to you too, and to other soulmates here. Now, a bit of bad news. With good news, there always comes a bit of bad news. The bad news is that you, and only you, are responsible to heal this. With great power comes great responsibility. Where do they say this? In Spider-Man, I think, right? So true. With great power comes great responsibility. So if you have the power to change this, it means that you are the one responsible for taking action and for starting this healing process. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that if something, even if a very traumatic relationship happened to you, if you were treated badly, if you experienced abusive behaviors, I'm not saying this was your fault, not at all. I'm not saying this is your fault. What I'm saying is that today, right here and right now, it is your responsibility, not the other person. Because the other person, all the people who have hurt us are probably oblivious to the fact they hurt us. Maybe they know, but who cares? But it's not relevant. It's not up to them to change this. It's up to us to do the deep work and the healing work. So I think overall, it's a pretty good deal. I would rather have the responsibility, but knowing that I have the power. Because if that depending on other people, if my happiness in relationships depending on someone else changing their patterns, and we do this all the time when we're in a relationship. I hear this so often. I'm fine. I just need him to do things differently. I just need him to stop doing this. I just need him to do more of this. But if I depend on someone else to change, to do the healing work, then it's beyond my control. I can't control this. And that's a source of frustration, anxiety, desperation. And I've been there. I was like, no, but we're perfectly fine. It's just that if he didn't go out with his friends so much, if he didn't care about football so much, if he were more available for me, if I could trust him more, if he were more reliable. But at the end of the day, we can't control what other people do. What we can control is our vibration and our inner state. That's what we can control. Not change it overnight, because depending on, what we've been through, we would need, it's not one workshop, one healing session, one intervention. Is not a one-off thing. It might be a process. It might take time to heal some wounds, to reprogram yourself, to clear those old beliefs. It might take some time, but it's totally possible, and anyone can do it. I did it. If I did it, anyone can do it. I'm nothing special. I'm not the chosen one. If I did it, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. So when you focus on doing the inner work and healing yourself, healing past experiences, when you start that self-discovery journey and start, you put the goggles on, and I'm always talking about the mind being like an iceberg, and the conscious mind being this little bit, and the big bit below the water, the one that is running the show. So when you put the goggles on and the diver suit on, and you jump into the water and you start diving deep, that journey of self-discovery and understanding where this programming, these beliefs, or these emotions come from, then the magic happens. Because then you're not blind anymore. You're not struggling anymore. I remember being in relationships thinking, but what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What is he doing? Why would he not listen to me? It's not that I was doing something wrong. It's that I had been conditioned to believe the relationships hurt. The love was hard. The love was all about drama. So if that was my program, like a program installed in a computer, if I press go live when I'm here on Insight Timer and all these processes are running, what happens is that I'm here with you guys, and you're able to see me and to hear me, and I can read you in your comments. So if the program I have installed in my mind is love hurts, love is difficult, if there is love, there is drama, what am I going to do? Find partners, be attracted. I was never attracted to the lovely, kind guys with good heart. No, because that wouldn't confirm my belief the love was drama. That would have been too easy. So I will always be attracted to the ones that were like emotionally unavailable, or or not ready to commit, because that will confirm my program. And it becomes like a spiral, right? And like a never-ending circle. Okay, so I'm dating this guy who's not emotionally available, so that confirms that love hurts. Okay, next relationship. Oh, so now I not only have the programming from my childhood, now my first relationship has confirmed it, so the belief grows even stronger, and it snowballs like that, right? So when I realized that maybe there was something not wrong with me, but something that I had to do, or maybe that I had to change myself, is when things started to change. And that's when the magic happens. That's when the magic happens, when you start to do the healing, and when you start to see that conditioning, you stop being blind. And instead of being like, but why am I doing wrong, and banging yourself against the wall, you're like, okay, so now I can see why I'm being triggered. And if someone is not available for me, and I'm really triggered, and I have a very strong emotional reaction, now I understand that maybe that's triggering my inner child who felt abandoned by her father. All right, okay. Oh, that's good stuff. Ooh, yeah, sometimes it hurts, you know? Sometimes it's like a slap in the face, but so worth it. It's like a cold shower, you know? It's like, oh, it's a bit of a shock, but so many benefits. And that's where the magic happens. And the rest are strategies. I just read a comment, Diana say, Verónica, you're telling my story. Yeah, so we think there, sister. Caroline is saying also, I'm struggling with exactly that, going through my own healing journey and continue to want changes from my spouse. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, so quite a few of us understand each other, have been through similar journeys. So that's always good. So yeah, when we started, because it's interesting what you're saying, when you're doing your healing journey, but you want changes in the other person. And this is very interesting, because when you start doing your healing, you start doing things differently. And maybe when you weren't setting boundaries, now you're learning to set boundaries. When before you will be like, oh, please stay with me, don't go out with your friends. Now you're like, I'm going to go out with my friends, and it's going to be my decision. I'm not going to be here waiting around for you to tell me what your plans are for this Friday. You start to change things. And then the other person goes, something's different here. And if they are aware, and if they are also in a, like a self-development or healing journey, things are much easier. But yeah, then you have to kind of juggle your own healing, your own changes, and your own process with the other person. And I remember that when at some point in my relationship with my husband, I was so close to repeat the same pattern. It was looking so much like the other relationships, like we're not going to make it, maybe this is not meant to. And I was so close to do another, okay, love hurts. After all, there was so much drama, and feeling disappointed again, and feeling abandoned again, and feeling sorry for myself, and confirming. But back then is when I had started my healing journey. So I was working with a therapist. It was like the very, very first stages of my healing, and when I was starting my master's degree in counseling. And I'm so glad I had someone to mirror that back to me, and to have that space. And I was like, wait a minute, because this is looking so similar to the previous ones, that they didn't end well. And I really I was really, really in love, and he's such a wonderful man. And I thought, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to mess this one up. But it was so, so close. So, 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 so close. And he was also in his own self-development and healing journey. So it was wonderful because together we helped each other heal, and we were able to share, you know, like what was going on for me, what was being triggered in me, what was something that I didn't like, but also being aware of, right, okay, I don't like this, but is my reaction proportional to this, or is it my inner child being triggered, or, you know, like what part of me is present in the room when I'm making a scene or when I'm starting an argument? Is it me, my true self? Is it a wounded part of myself? Is it an angry part of myself? Maybe it's a submissive part of myself, you know? So having that awareness is key. And it's very important that if you can be open about this with your partner, to let them know that you're doing some either self-discovery or some healing, because otherwise they might start seeing changes in you and they might think, oh, she doesn't love me anymore. You know, but yeah, having that, when you can grow and you can heal together with someone in a relationship, is so beautiful, and it's so, so, so rewarding. And the rest are just strategies. And sometimes I see a lot of people teaching like how to communicate better with your partner, and, you know, how to be more loving, how to rekindle the spark, or how to set boundaries, how to do this in a relationship, you know, and that's great. Those practical tips can be very, very useful. But if you don't do the deep healing, it's like putting a patch. It's not going to give you long-lasting transformation. It might work for a bit when you sit down with your partner and you're like, right, okay, so from now on we have to speak up and we have to be more open with each other, and, you know, and every week we're going to sit down for 30 minutes and we're going to talk about how we feel. Yeah, that's a great practical tool. But if you don't do the deep healing, if you don't resolve the triggers, that's going to last, I don't know, a month, two, and yeah, it's going to feel good at the beginning, and then eventually one of the two is going to get triggered and back to the negative patterns, back to the toxic behaviors. And that is I'm going to say, the one and only reason why relationships fail, in my opinion. The people don't do the healing work, the people don't do the inner work. Because if you do the inner work, and you are not triggered, if you have healed your wounds, if you're not carrying any baggage, then it's a matter of, right, do I want to be with this relationship or not? It doesn't mean that, you know, because you've done the healing, you can't react to anything and you can't get angry. And no, because eventually you might come across someone who's not a good match for you, and that's perfectly fine. And say, okay, I'm just going to walk away. That's perfectly fine. But when you come from a place of wholeness and from a place of having been healed, and not being triggered, not being controlled by old programming, by old beliefs, by emotions that weren't processed before, then it's just a matter of, you know, okay, do I want to be with this person or not? And yeah, you will have disagreements. Like, it doesn't mean that I rarely argue with my husband. We rarely argue. Not because we always agree or because we don't care about each other, but because when there is a disagreement, we can sit down and, you know, or when one of us gets triggered, because it doesn't mean that I don't get triggered anymore, because there are some things that are, you know, there is always a deeper layer of healing that you need to do. But now I'm aware, okay, if I'm feeling this upset, who's feeling this upset? Is this proportional to what's happening? And we can kind of detach, or at least be aware of the parts that are being involved and that have the energy. in the argument or the discussion or whatever. So yeah, I guess I can say that, in my opinion, the one and only reason why relationships fail is because people don't do the inner work. Because if we all did the inner work, then yeah, some relationships would end, but that doesn't mean they fail. It would be like, okay, we are not meant to be together. That's perfectly fine. But sometimes people who want to be together or who love each other, the relationship doesn't make it because it's not them in the relationship, it's them and a huge pile of baggage. And that is such a shame. That is so, so sad. Ati is saying, my last relationship failed because we grew and learned so much about ourselves and realized we wanted different things. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes a relationship can be a great place for learning, and you are together in a period of your life or in a stage of your life, and but it's not meant to be forever, and you learn, and you can end the relationship, you know, with love, and okay, so now we're moving on to a different stage, instead of, oh, we argued so much, or you know, like we annoyed each other so much, or there was so much toxicity that we couldn't make it. It's very different. So yeah, wonderful. Yeah, amazing. Miesha is, sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly, my love. I've moved away from using the word fail when relationships transition. Absolutely. I think that creates another story we will need to unravel, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it didn't fail. Yeah, that's the thing. Then the relationship, you know, ended. Kiana is saying, that's how I feel about my marriage. I'm divorced now, but I consider him my husband and not ex-husband, because we're still friends regardless of our marriage ending. Yeah. So I mean, there are no labels, and yeah. Yeah, I know. I guess that it was husband and not a different word. Joey saying, spot on. It is a shame many people, especially men, won't do the healing work to have successful relationships. Yeah, it's so important. So yeah. So like I said at the beginning, this is good news because we can totally do the inner work. It's totally possible to break free from that, and then yeah, we will have one relationship and maybe another. You know, being single is wonderful as well. You know, because sometimes we start relationships out of, oh, it's so sad to be single. Oh, I don't want to be single. And that never ends well. When we start a relationship from a place of wholeness, that's a whole different story, because then you complement each other. When you start a relationship out of, I need to be in a relationship because I don't know how to be single, that's a different story. We can always rewrite the story, Kiana. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, my loves. So then what? So now what? So now we have the good news, we have the bad news, we know the main reason why relationships fail. So I guess it's time for a bit of self-reflection here. So I'm going to invite you, I don't know, there are a lot more people here than at the beginning. So what I said at the beginning is that all problems in relationships come from three main elements. What you learn from your role models, so the relationships your parents or your main caregivers had, sometimes is an ancestral patterns that gets inherited because of the collective energy. Also past relationship, negative experiences in past relationships, and the relationship with yourself. So if you become aware of the conditioning that comes from these three areas, from these three elements, and you clear it and you heal it, you're going to enjoy much more joyful, healthy, authentic, and nurturing relationships. So I'm going to invite you to do a bit of self-reflection here. So starting with role models. And by the way, guys, before I forget, I've recorded a 10-day course on relationships. It's called Reclaim Your Love Life. I don't think it's available on my profile yet because I only submitted it yesterday. So I think it's still waiting for approval, but it should be visible in the next few days. So yeah, so if you want to do this process in much more depth with, you know, lots of time for self-reflection, with journaling prompts, with healing meditations, with energy healing techniques, it's going to be ready very, very soon. So what was I saying? Yeah, what I was saying is role models. So I'm going to invite you to think, you know, to bring your awareness. You can close your eyes if that feels right for you, or you can just, you know, if you have pen and paper handy, you might want to write down some insights. But just to think, just to reflect on who your role models were and what type of relationship your parents or your main caregivers had, how they treated each other, how the relationship was, and what did they say about relationships? Because we all have, you know, I'm sure you remember like one of your parents or main caregiver saying, be careful with guys because this and that, and they will do this to you, and love is this, and relationships are that, you know, a lot of these like generalizations. And there we are, eyes open, ears open, and our subconscious mind like, give me more, give me more, give me more of that programming, give me a few more beliefs like that. I'm a sponge. So yeah, so what was that relationship like? And most importantly, how did you experience it? Because very often it's not about what happened or what we saw, but how we experienced it. And sometimes a very, very, very subtle a very subtle action or a very subtle gesture of one of your caregivers, you know, like saying, "Hey, Daddy, I'm bringing the homework," or showing them something you painted at school, and then being like, I'm busy, I'm on the phone, you know, something really subtle like that can create a negative belief or a limiting belief. And if you think about it, you know, you say, well, that's not trauma, that's not traumatic, you know, like we all do this. Yeah, sure, but it's not about what happened, it's about the interpretation. So again, so yeah, so bring to your awareness how the relationship was and how you experienced it, how it felt for you, because that's what you absorbed. Yeah, Kiana has a wonderful question and very tricky one to answer. What if your partner doesn't want to do the inner work and you still want to be with them? So I guess here, sometimes people learn from what they see rather from what they're being told. Meaning that if you try to tell him, you should do the inner work because, you know, because you have problems and you have trauma and your parents were like this, they're going to be like, block, barrier, shield, you know, like this. But if you do the inner work and they start seeing that you feel amazing, that you're suddenly unlocking new potentials, and suddenly, you know, like you're smashing it with your business and you're so happy and you look so confident, and now you don't take bullshit, and you know, and maybe you have a wonderful group of friends and you have your tribe, and you know, when you start doing the inner work, those things happen, and they will look at you like, what's going on here? Why is she so happy? Why are things going so well for her? And then they might think, oh, maybe it's this whole, you know, like healing, inner work stuff they're doing. So sometimes we can lead with our example, but at the same time, we can't force someone to start a path they're not ready for. And very often happens, you know, like it could be that as you do more healing, he's like, oh wow, I like this woman much more, and she's doing something that works, so I'm going to do it too. But sometimes what happens is that as you raise your vibration more and more, and as you heal and you become lighter and you elevate your life, sometimes the other person might not be in resonance with you anymore. You outgrow each other. Absolutely. Kiana, spot on. Yeah. And that happens with friends, and that happens with family, you know, some friends that you used to hang out, you know, and you were so close and going out every weekend, and suddenly you change and you start your transformation process, and you're like, I don't find those jokes funny anymore. I don't fancy getting drunk anymore. I don't enjoy the gossiping anymore, you know, and you start to kind of fall apart, and that's a natural process of life. It's sad, and when that happens, but yeah, Joe is saying 100% not in alignment, so I walk. Yeah. And it will be, you know, if you're in a relationship with someone and it's not sustainable anymore because you've healed so much, and because you become a different person. If I think about myself 10, 12 years ago, I was a completely different person. I don't even recognize myself. Completely different person. So I'm not in alignment with many people I was with back then. Not that I'm better or worse, we're just not in alignment anymore. But I think probably the way to go, like if someone here is in a relationship and you're doing the inner work and you're up for it, and you know that that's what's going to get you results, and your partner is like, not so convinced about it, you know, like sometimes walking your talk and leading by example can be more powerful than trying to convince the other person with words. But Kiana, it's a tricky one. That's a tricky one indeed. Jack is saying we're going through a lot of struggle, but not ready to give up. Yeah, no, and especially if you're doing any, you know, like inner work, like it's not the time to break up. You know, when you're going through a healing process, or because a lot of things, you might be very emotional, a lot of things are coming to the surface, so you might be even more triggered at the beginning. So it's not the time to make rushed decisions, because sometimes this can be a pattern as well, running away, and you know, oh, that way I don't have to commit. And especially these days, it makes me so sad, all this whole virtual social media, you know, like how people interact with each other behind the screen with no intimacy, with no deep connection. And this is like more and more, in my opinion, it's becoming more and more of a problem, because that leads to very superficial relationships. And then as soon as there is a problem, oh, I'm walking out of here. So there also needs to be a balance between, yeah, I'm not taking BS from someone because I love myself, but also, am I just running away? Or could I stay here a bit more? Is this person worth it? Is this relationship worth it? And put that commitment and that effort in, because relationships take effort to build, right? It's like a plant. You have to nurture it, you have to water it. It is in its light. So yeah, Kiara's saying is proud of Jackie. Yeah, hang in there if your heart is leading you to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes, you know, that time is like when the breakthrough happens, and then it's like, wow, I'm so glad I didn't let this person go. Yes, 90% of the relationships shifted while we were going through our graduate program. We changed and grew so much that it was challenging to remain in resonance with the same folks. Yeah, it was very painful to experience and witness, but also necessary. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes it takes time to figure out where to stay or go. Yeah, yeah. It is a process as well. And there are many things to take into consideration. Absolutely. So I think here awareness is key. Like what part of me wants to stay, what part of me wants to go. Because sometimes the part of you that wants to stay, it's a part of you that is scared of being on your own, and that's never a good reason to be in a relationship. Or sometimes the part that wants to go, it's the part that is scared of being in a relationship, and that's never a good it's never a good reason to end a relationship. So if the part of you that wants to stay is one that is saying, listen, this guy is really good for you, like I really love him, and I know that this can be a wonderful relationship, then go for it. If the part of you that wants to go is like, no, we were here before because of old baggage, because this is not what we deserve, then that's a different story. Yeah, can I say sometimes we need space from our partners to fully see if we want to be with them or not. Yeah, sometimes a break can be useful to, to clear your head and step out of the arguments and the trying and the discussing and yeah, and just being for a bit, and sometimes clarity comes up from there. Amy saying, oh, I lost the comment. Going through that, and my boyfriend is the one running away. We were on the verge of getting to the next level. It hurts. The oh, is painful. I hear you. He's not willing to do the work. It feels like loving myself means letting go. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does, my love. And yeah, it will be interesting to see what part of him is the one who wants to run away. But whatever, whichever part of him is the one who wants to let go. Yeah, if for you to love yourself means letting go, then listen to your heart. Rachel is saying, I'm refusing to participate with his negativity. Once he starts, I leave the room or go for a walk. I can't fix that he needs to, but I won't let him bring me down anymore. Yeah, that's also a thing, because sometimes we want our partner to be perfect and to fix everything, and we are also not perfect. I have my things. So sometimes, like sometimes when I have one of those days and I'm just like, negative, and and my husband comes, and bless him, he wants to make me happy, and and he tries to cheer me up, and I'm like, you know what, leave me alone with my negativity and my gremlins and my stuff, and I'll sort myself out. It's better than you just trying to make me happy, because I'm getting more annoyed by you doing that, if that makes sense. Or when he's going through something, I recognize it, like, okay, so this is something you have to go through. I'm here if you need me. This is a very important thing in relationships. You have to do this. No, I'm here if you need me. But if you don't, then do your own thing. And like Rachel was saying, and in the meantime, do you need help? Yes, no. If not, then I'm going to walk out of here, and I'm not going to bring in your negativity, because it's not mine and I don't want it. Thank you very much. So yeah. Another very difficult question to answer. You're on fire, guys, today. I'm Amy saying, how long should you wait for someone to be ready to do the work before you set them and yourself free? I guess here it's a matter of listening to your heart and your intuition more than analyzing, how long should I give him? How long should I wait? What is your heart saying? What is your intuition saying? And I totally agree that sometimes having a bit of space, like even if it's going away for a weekend or something like that, can give you a bit of clarity, because there is no recipe. Because sometimes you wait for someone for years, and then they suddenly go through a breakthrough, and you're like, wow, and then the relationship is forever and it's so worth it. But sometimes you do wait for someone for years, and then you think, I just wasted my time. So I think here what I can say is maybe have a dialogue with the different parts of yourself. The part of yourself that wants to stay, the part of yourself that is thinking, maybe I should leave, any other parts of yourself that might be active or having a say, wanting to have a say, and see where those parts come from, and to balance that. But ultimately, that dialogue, that inner dialogue process, the idea is that you are free from any conditioning that might be making you hold on to something that is not good for you, or that might be wanting to leave something that is good for you. So to be in a much clearer state, so you can listen to your heart, because when it comes to love, the heart is the one who has the final say. So I probably didn't help you much with that answer. I'm not sure, but tricky one. Yeah, only so much you can handle if you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. And I don't know who said that. It feels like for me, loving myself means letting go. So that's also something. Yeah, again, I saying, I think your heart will tell you when it's time. Absolutely. And then he's saying, yes, let me be pissed off. right? Like something's not low, and this is something because of the emotional education we receive. You see someone crying, you see someone angry, it's like, no, someone tell her a joke, stop that crying, stop those tears, that's terrible. No, let me be pissed off, let me be here, battling my gremlins and my stuff. Yeah, the more we evolve, the more we let go. And yeah, and there's a lot of grief. Like in next week, I'm going to be covering a lot about how to clear relationship baggage. So we're going to focus on the old relationship stuff and how to let that go, because there is a huge grief process that we have to acknowledge and that we have to understand that it takes time. Because when the heart is hurting, it takes time to repair. But if you don't invest that time in doing the grieving process properly, then you don't achieve closure. So maybe this is a good moment to do some self-reflection on your past relationships and what, because we were having a very interesting discussion, but this was all within having those moments for self-reflection. And maybe that's a good time to reflect on how your previous relationships, even the first boy you ever kissed, like maybe when you were 4 or 10 or 15 or whatever, or the first boy you interacted with at school or gave you flowers or you fancied, and because that counts. We start making decisions about love, especially when we're a kid. Because like I said before, our brain is a sponge. So we are absorbing, making lots of decisions. And the third thing will be and like I said, you can close your eyes and just see what comes to your awareness. You can write a list of things that you might be becoming aware of and that you have to let go and that you have to clear the relationship with yourself. So anything that needs to change about the relationship with yourself that might be having a negative impact in your current relationships. Jay saying, I've never been in a long-term relationship, don't think I'm built for it. Right, so a wonderful belief right there. I'm not built for relationships. A great belief to deep dive and to dig deeply and to see where that comes from. Because I know you say, yeah, it's a joke, you say with a lol, like it's a joke. And I know we make jokes about ourselves all the time, and we're also here to have a laugh, because otherwise, like healing is great, but if we don't have a laugh and if we're not able to laugh at ourselves, then life becomes too intense, at least in my opinion. So yeah, even if you said it as a joke, it might be worth having a look at that belief, because that really caught my eye. And sometimes that is also relationship baggage. Okay, I've never been in a relationship. I'm 20 and I haven't had any serious relationships. Okay, well, I guess I'll have them later in life. I'm 30 and I've never had a serious relationship. Oh, 30. Oh, that year, that number where we are supposed to be married and have kids and all this stuff. I'm 14. I've never had a serious relationships. Tick-tock, 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 right? So sometimes not having a relationship can develop a belief. Maybe that's not possible for me. Maybe love doesn't happen for people like me. So that's also something to explore. The grieving process. Whoa, the grieving process is a big one. Yeah, even within the same relationship. Yeah, grieving the changes. Yeah, before baby life and after baby life. Absolutely. Because as you grow together and you're in different stages at the beginning, when everything is just dating and having fun, and then you get married, and then that's a different thing. If you have babies, that's a complete different thing. Or when you are just dating or you moving, living together, and then you don't have that freedom anymore. So yeah, of course, those changes need to be grieved and processed as well. Okay, saying we're together almost 40. Oh, we're together almost 40 years. He changed and I didn't realize till after the divorce. Oof, that's a long time. That is a long time. I forgot to say that, of course, depending on the intensity and the length of the relationship, like both factors count. the process of healing it might take a bit longer. Because sometimes I hear people, yeah, but this relationship happened a long time ago and I need to move on. Like, I really need to be ready now. Well, do it at your own pace, because deep wounds, deep beliefs, intense experiences leave a bigger imprint. So yeah, so sometimes loving ourselves is also about allowing ourselves time for healing, for integration, for the transition period, for moving on. So with all these things, yeah, Kelly saying, yes, it's 4 years now and I'm ready to move. Yeah, fantastic, perfect. But yeah, after such a long relationship, no one would expect that in 3 days, you're going to be like up and running and yeah, available for love. It took me 3 years after my divorce from a 10-year marriage, yeah, to be expected. And when there is, yeah, the commitment, and yeah, it can be a long process, absolutely. So you've probably identified some some patterns, some beliefs, maybe some relationships that you still need to grieve, that you haven't integrated fully, or that that if you feel that you haven't achieved closure, and sometimes this happens a lot, even if the relationship was ages ago, but sometimes you feel, yeah, but for some reason it doesn't feel like that chapter is closed. So I'm going to be covering a lot of this in our next session, next Thursday. For now, all the things you might have identified, in a couple of Thursdays, I'm going to teach the process of how to clear and how to heal this. Because if I start to talk about that now, we've been here for more than 1 hour. So that will be probably a very long session for you guys to to listen to. But in a nutshell, the idea, and you can start reflecting a bit on this, getting ready for the session in a couple of weeks, and for the course, if you want to join the course that I submitted yesterday. I don't think it's in my profile, but it will be ready in the next few days if you want to go through that process. But basically the idea is like, okay, so what part of me, younger me, this belief I have about myself, that love hurts, that men are blah, 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 that women are blah, 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 that I'm not made for relationships, that love is never going to happen for me, that happily ever after is not possible for me, that my needs are not important, that I always have to please the other person in the relationship. You have identified something, or maybe a previous relationship that broke your heart, that cheated on you, that left, with no warning. It's about going back to that part of yourself, to that younger you, or to that part of yourself that still holds the pain, the trauma, the wounds, that made the decision, and having that inner dialogue and having that conversation and healing, and helping them make a different belief. And that's the work I do with my clients all the time, whether that's in the topic of relationships, very often on the topic of relationships, but also, money blocks, problems with confidence. It applies to everything, really. And it's about going to those moments. And I will explain a little bit more about how I integrate the energy healing work, because I think it's much more powerful. Because we could be sitting, you can go to talking therapy for years and years and years every week, and you talk about, how your parents did this, and how your father was like this, and your mother was like that, and then you had a boyfriend that broke your heart, and you become a master of your problems, but the triggers are still there. You don't achieve the breakthrough. Transformation doesn't happen. So I will explain a bit more about how to do this with visualizations, with energetic clearing techniques, that is much more powerful than just by talking about it. And in the course that I just recorded, there are a few energy clearing techniques and really deep healing meditations that are going to help you reprogram your subconscious mind. So I would definitely recommend you do that. Yeah, an hour already, Jay. Can you believe it? Yeah, Clara is saying, I'm like Kelly, 41 years. It's not even a year and it's very painful. Yeah, 40 years is a lifetime. So so yeah, it will take time. Jay saying, someone once told me I don't find boyfriends, I find projects. That's very interesting, Jay. What do you think he meant by that? That's really interesting. Yeah, so grateful not to be in a relationship. Yeah, sometimes, you know, it's better that way. Yeah, one day at a time. Can't imagine how it feels because that's a long time. Yeah. Guys, I need that one next Thursday. Yeah, so same time. Yeah, I totally agree with Kiana. And I'm also very proud of you ladies for being here and sharing your stories. Yeah, all the comments you're sharing in the chat. Yeah, you're very brave for sharing those experiences because I'm sure you're inspiring a lot of people. Like I can see there are 132 people here right now. And even though not everyone is saying something, I'm sure that you guys, what you're sharing in the chat, a lot of people are going, me too. Yeah, I hear you, been there. Oh, I'm not alone. Oh, I'm not the only one. And it can be very encouraging for other people. I told someone recently how all the years of therapy never helped me resolve the traumas until I did my inner healing work and spiritual healing. Yeah, happens a lot. Yeah, baby steps. What time? It would be 1:30 p.m. UK time. So I'm not sure what time. Definitely morning in the US. But if you follow me, if you follow my profile, you will be notified of all my next events. Yeah, inner healing work has been such a bigger impact than talk therapy. I agree with you, Carolina. There are so many comments there. I don't know if I'm missing something. Yeah, game changer. Jason, I'm confused. Isn't therapy still kind of healing? Yeah, it is. It is. It is a type of healing, but it's a very slow process, and it's a very because you're talking. Let me see if I can explain it. Everything is stored in your subconscious mind. Like what's actually running the show for you is your subconscious mind and all the emotions that were stored in the body. So that's kind of below the surface. When you're doing with talking therapy, you're talking from your conscious mind to the therapist's conscious mind. So it's like trying to take down a tank with arrows. You're going to need a lot of arrows to take down that tank. So yeah, you can get awareness, you can get some breakthrough moments, and sometimes just talking about it can be like, oh wow, I've let it out, you know. Yeah, you can. For me, when I started doing my counseling, it was great. It changed my life. It was really good. But then when I started learning about the power of, you know, like more energetic work and doing deep level healing, it's much more transformational, and you can achieve results in a few sessions of energy healing that you would need a year of weekly sessions with talking therapy. Yeah, like Yana is saying, it only scratches the surface. So yeah. Oh, I'm reading the body keeps the score. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, therapy, like I said, for awareness and things, it can be good, but yeah, we become masters of our problem. It can also be a way of rationalizing it, but again, not going deep and connect to it and let it come out. If you come to my tapping sessions on Mondays, for example, emotional freedom technique or tapping, you've probably seen this, you know, where we go and talk about, say something, you know, a problem, a limiting belief we want to let go as we tap on different parts of the body. We are tuning into the energy system. So I don't need to explain to you years and years and years and years of going through a traumatic divorce my parents' traumatic divorce, and relieving that trauma and relieving that pain. I just need to go, okay, all this anger and all this fear, I don't even know where it comes from, but I'm getting it out of the system. That's just one example. Yeah, some people, like me, as I say, many people engage in talk therapy and don't do the inner work, which misses the point. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes true transformation happens between therapy sessions, and having the right fit counselor is key to ensure you have soul work that is helping you heal and evolve. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, my loves. So I think we're going to wrap up for today. Please feel free to follow me on Insight Timer so you're notified of more sessions like this. The next few weeks, I'm going to be here every Monday and every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. UK time. So that will be in the morning, different times, depending where you are in the US. What else? I have a couple of courses already that you can take, but there is one coming up on relationships that I just recorded and submitted yesterday, so it should be ready very, very soon. And I would like to thank you guys for being here, for participating, for contributing with your comments, with your insights. You are a lovely bunch of beautiful souls, honestly. Thank you so much. When you write positive reviews and when you share your positive feedback with me, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your donations. They're very much welcome and very much appreciated. Let me know if there are any topics that you would like me to cover in future sessions, because I'm here to serve you guys. So yeah, but it's you guys coming to the sessions and with your feedback, your reviews that give me motivation to keep me going. So I'll see you around, everyone. Thank you everyone for being here. Yeah, I'm just seeing if I've missed any comments. Thank you, everyone, my loves. So have a lovely rest of your day, everyone, and I'll see you around. Take care.